welcome at Ijoma Onyato tonight. President Buhari directs Finance Minister and Central Bank Governor to facilitate release of London Paris Club refunds to states to help their financial hardship. Senate snubs General for his failure to appear before the lawmakers in customs uniform. Political space to witness greater activities as opposition party leaders meet in Abuja to fine-tune talks on formation of a mega party. And US Senate panel dismisses President Trump's wiretap claim, insists no indications Trump Tower was subject of surveillance.
And on business news tonight, International Finance Corporation asks state governments to partner the private sector for job creation.
And in sports news, federal government congratulates Amaju Pinnick on his CAF success, charges him to sustain Nigeria's rising influence in the organization.
And from Abuja, House of Representatives seeks prosecution of former Secretary to the Government of the Federation and former FCT Minister Bala Mohammed over alleged irregularities in the Centenary City project.
The President has directed the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, to urgently begin the process of releasing the second tranche of the London Paris Club refunds to states. President Muhammadu Buhari gave this directive in Abuja when he addressed the meeting of the National Economic Council, made up of state governors and chaired by the Vice President. The President, who made a strong case for the settlement of unpaid salaries and pension liabilities of workers, said this move is to ease the financial hardship in the country.
The National Economic Council meeting, the highest economic decision-making body in the land, usually presided over by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, with almost all the governors present. They have a role to advise the President on economic matters, and so midway into the sitting, they ushered him in. Many of them may have missed him while he was away, as shown here by the several exchange of banters. Behind closed doors, the President continues to make a case for the governors over settlement of unpaid salaries and pension liabilities of workers, and directed the Finance Minister and the Central Bank Governor to release the second tranche of the London Paris Club refunds to the states to ease their financial burden. Other matters are rising: the problem of deforestation, update on security situation across the country, and the problem of tax evasion and the scheme being put in place to stop it.
The demand on our forests is becoming unprecedented. Population is expanding, demand for development, demand for agriculture, demand for construction, and yet the land resource is not expanding.
The NSA, as a national security advisor, fingered unemployment as the major threat to security.
Part of this scheme is to waive the interest and penalty, and also give them a time limit to pay, maybe up to 3 years, so that for those that come forward, they'll be allowed to pay instrumentally and also rectify their tax position.
Some of the governors are confident that the President is strong enough to steer the change agenda of the administration.
Obviously, he accepted that maybe he took a few things for granted for his age, but certainly he's positioned to carry on the good works of transforming Nigeria for to a better environment.
He's capable, he's still very sound, still very strong, and I'm sure you people could hear the way he was speaking, so we're comfortable.
As you can see, even when he was away, the Vice took over smoothly and did a good job. So I think it's a good synergy.
The governors advised the President to take more rest if need be, even as the President insisted that he would remain relentless in the pursuit of the interest of Nigerians. Chukwuma Onwepusi, Channels Television News.
The Senate has refused to engage with the Comptroller General of the Nigerian Customs Service, retired Colonel Hamid Ali, over his refusal to wear a uniform while appearing before the lawmakers at plenary. The customs boss was scheduled to brief the lawmakers on the proposed retrospective policy on import duties on vehicles. But he appeared before the lawmakers dressed in a white kaftan, contrary to the directive of the Senate that he should appear in customs uniform. Our correspondent Linda Akigbe reports.
Defiant till the end, the Customs Controller General, Colonel Hamid Ali, retired, takes the last few steps into the Senate chamber in an attire which is bound to cause displeasure among lawmakers. And it sure did, as evidenced by the first question fired at the customs boss.
Can you explain to us why you're not in uniform, unless this is the custom uniform?
There's no law, to my knowledge, that compels me as Controller General to wear uniform.
The Senate invited the Customs Controller General to appear before it to explain the reason behind the retrospective policy on import duties on vehicles. Federal lawmakers had previously criticized this policy, saying it would bring more hardship on Nigerians. But these lawmakers are unwilling to take the customs boss on this policy.
As long as you want to answer Comptroller General, you want to exercise command and control, then there is a law that says you should wear uniform.
As long as there is no law that says you should not wear the uniform, I would plead with you to wear it.
I did advise him publicly that for us to get out of this debacle, let us go and change his designation to sole administratorship.
A motion was moved and adopted.
The Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs and Excise be given another date to come back next week Wednesday by 10 o'clock to come back in uniform and address the Senate, so that the Senate is not ready whole. This is the highest lawmaking organ of the Federation. We shall not allow the Senate to be ridiculed. I so moved.
Seeing the writing on the wall, the customs boss leaves the Senate chamber. The Senate had threatened to issue an arrest warrant on the Comptroller General of Customs if he failed to appear before the Senate on Thursday, March 16th, but he did. Now, should the Customs CG refuse to appear before the Senate on the new date, that's on next Wednesday, March 22nd, the Senate may make good its threat of issuing an arrest warrant on the Customs CG. From the National Assembly, Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
To legal matters now, a former group managing director of the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, Andrew Yakubu, has been arraigned on a 6-count charge bordering on money laundering and corruption. Mr. Yakubu, who served as the NNPC chief executive in the last administration, is accused of money laundering, receiving money without going through a financial institution, and not declaring the said money. He, however, denied all the charges, and the court is to decide on his application for bail on March the 21st. Our correspondent Amaka Ukafo reports.
A former group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mr. Andrew Yakubu, awaiting his arraignment in the company of officials of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Soon after, the 6-count charge of money laundering was read to him. He entered a not guilty plea. Mr. Yakubu is being accused of failing to declare the sum of $9.7 million in his asset declaration form, which he filed at the EFCC on the 18th of August 2015. He is also accused of receiving payment of £74,000 sterling without going through a financial institution as required by law during his tenure as the group managing director of NNPC. The EFCC also alleges that the defendant transported the foreign currencies to Kaduna State to avoid putting the transactions through a financial institution. Shortly after, counsel to the defendant, Mr. Ahmed Raji, applied for his bail, either on self-recognizance or in the most liberal terms. He also asked the court to order that his client's international passport be released temporarily to enable him to complete a 3-week medical trip abroad. Mr. Raji informed the court that Mr. Andrew Yakubu was in the UK on a medical trip, which he suspended upon the invitation of the EFCC. Opposing bail, however, the prosecutor, Mr. Ben Ikani, urged the court to either refuse bail or, in the alternative, impose a stringent condition that would compel the defendant to attend trial.
This is an indictable offense and it's a serious offense, so we have to lay our objection before the court, but entirely the court has the discretion.
When an accused is charged, is ordinarily entitled to bail, because any accused, no matter the offense, is presumed innocent until the contrary is proved by the state.
The trial judge, Justice Ahmed Mohammed, adjourned to the 21st of March for ruling on the bail application. He also ordered the remand of the defendant in Kuje prison pending the determination of his bail application. Amaka Okafor, Channels Television News.
To another legal matter now, the trial judge in the case of an alleged 4.9 billion naira fraud levelled against a former aviation minister, Fani-Kayode, has withdrawn from the matter. Justice Muslim Hassan of the Federal High Court in Lagos excused himself following an allegation of likelihood of bias made against him by the former minister. Our judiciary correspondent Shola Shoyeli reports.
Former Aviation Minister Femi Fani-Kayode, former Finance Minister Nenadi Usman, one Danjuma Yusuf, and a company Joint Trust Dimensions Nigeria Limited were all arraigned by the EFCC in June 2016 on an alleged 4.9 billion naira fraud. Before Justice Muslim Hassan of the Federal High Court Lagos, they all pleaded not guilty to the 17-count charge made against them. In proof of its case, the EFCC called its first prosecution witness, Wanidowu Olusegun, a media consultant. There was a twist in the case when the defense lawyers declined to cross-examine the witness. Instead, they told Justice Hassan that they had filed different applications challenging the jurisdiction of the court to continue to hear the case. Perhaps the most weighty of these applications was the one filed by Mr. Fani-Kayode, challenging the morality of Justice Hassan to continue to preside over the matter after having worked with the EFCC as a senior legal officer and a prosecuting counsel before his appointment as a judge. Through his lawyer, Mr. Norris Quakers SAN, the former minister specifically said he was afraid that he would not get justice before the judge, who during his time at the EFCC drafted, filed and signed a charge in 2008, which led to Mr. Fani-Kayode's trial for an alleged 100 million naira money laundering charge before Justice Rita Ophelia Jumogobia. That trial lasted 7 years, after which the former minister was acquitted and discharged. In response to this application, the EFCC, through its prosecutor Rotimi Oyedepo, submitted that Justice Hassan had been fair to all parties in the trial. He particularly recalled that the judge had cause to castigate the commission when Mr. Fani-Kayode was rearrested on the court premises after Justice Hassan granted him bail. He also pointed out that no proof of bias was exhibited before the courts, and the 2008 charge was drafted and prosecuted by the law firm of Festus Keyamo. Justice Hassan, he concluded, had merely signed as a matter of formality by virtue of his position at the EFCC then. In his ruling, Justice Hassan said that he was not biased. He also emphasized that he never participated in the former trial, and the record of proceedings was proof of this. The judge, however, decided to exercise caution and restraint. He held that though no proof of bias was shown, he would, in the interest of justice, refuse to take part in further proceedings on this matter. Justice Hassan then ordered the return of the case file to the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice Ibrahim Alta, for reassignment to another judge. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.